Hi, I'm Roshan.
Hi, I'm Jasmine. So we started this today. Who are we? We're pretty much nobodies. I mean, we probably have a couple of our friends watching. Actually, that's the first thing I wanted to say is that we had very different reactions to doing this. When I brought it up to my friends, they're like, "Oh, of course, I'm gonna watch. I'll be your first supporter. I'm gonna be there. You'll have the views from me." But you had a little bit of a different reaction.
Yeah, my friends was like, we'd listen, but if it's trash, this I'm not gonna finish it.
So starting with absolutely no pressure, basically.
Yeah,
So Roshan, where are you from?
I'm from South Africa, born and raised, been here pretty much my whole life. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and you, Jasmine?
I'm, I was there for most of my life, but I'm actually Austrian. Right now I'm in Greece, but soon I'm going to be moving to Austria. So, I mean, I've seen some, I've seen some things in my life. But yeah, so let's talk about why we're doing this in the first place. So I want to give my motivation a little bit. So basically, I think that I talk so much politics with my friends that they're like, maybe you should put this somewhere else. We've heard enough. So that's my reason. Maybe it's a little bit more accessible, and then when I hang out with my friends, we can actually talk about normal things. So there's one reason.
For me, pretty much a very similar thing. I just walk up to my friends and then speak about politics, and they're like, "Damn, there's a lot going on that I never even thought about." But yeah,
That's true.
it's just fun to
Yeah.
speak about, I guess, and fun to be
It is
informed of.
fun. It's true. And it's the same for me. I think that many times I expect people to know what I know and even what you know. And
Mm.
many times I'm actually surprised. And I think the point is that a lot of people don't know where to start. They're a little bit scared of politics, so to say,
Yeah,
because they're like, oh, I don't want to choose sides or I don't want to get into it. And, by the time you enter a topic, it's already, it's been going on for a while. So maybe normal people like us can describe it in a way that makes more sense to some other people.
yeah, I
So
think
yeah,
for a lot of people that I know as well, it's a lot to do with like emotional availability, especially now with the way that the world's gone. It's just like, people maybe don't have the capacity to keep up to date with everything that's happening. And especially because a lot of the stuff is now digging into emotional territory, it's easy to get emotionally exhausted. And I have some friends that kind of have just gone completely off of social media and stuff as well because they just can't deal with all of the stuff happening. And,
yeah,
I can understand why.
yeah. I mean, not everybody's insane like us.
Yeah.
It takes a lot. I mean, it's one of my main focuses. If you ask me, oh, what have you been up to lately? I'm like, well, listen, listen to this, and it's just me not talking about my life at all. So that's pretty interesting. Can I show you a video to start with?
Yes. Let's get to it.
So I wanna show you something to do with Ben Shapiro. Okay. Now, can you maybe explain just a little bit who that is? Some people would probably know, but
So
who this man is.
Ben Shapiro, from my understanding, is a currently at the moment like a right-wing commentator. He's been pretty prominent in the scene of debating like university school students. Um, Often gets criticized for not debating anybody of like the same education level or societal standards, which is quite funny. So he gets to like dunk on these young people all the time, but he never really truly gets tested. And yeah, just
That's a
sometimes a
pretty good
slimy
analysis.
character.
Yeah, I mean, the way I remember him from now years ago, I mean, I think even pre-COVID, I had seen some videos of his, and he was basically the epitome of like this masculine, very like facts don't care about your feelings was like his main
Yeah,
thing, which is funny because, well, that's pretty much what I'm going to get into is this term of masculinity and how ironic it is sometimes
mm,
because he would talk about what it means to be a man, preaching traditional values, and all of that. So now, you know Jubilee, don't you?
yes, where all great culture
Okay.
moments come from.
Right. So there's this part of a clip that kind of went viral, and you'll see the first girl that's talking to him. Listen to the comment that she makes, essentially.
How are you? Doing well. How are you? Hello. Nice to meet you. Oh wow, you look better in person. Okay, so
That's very sweet of you. I don't often get that, so thank
okay,
you.
it's fine. But yeah. How do you define abortion really quick?
Okay, listen, this is just the first part, okay? So essentially, what happened is that she made this comment, right? Like, oh, you look better in person. And a lot of people were saying, you know, this is a very right wing figure. Why did you compliment him in the first place? And here is the response to that.
Okay, so I was on the episode with Ben Shapiro. On Jubilee, and someone just came up onto my live and asked me why I complimented his looks. I need you guys to understand something. That man was beat to the fucking gods. To the gods. When I sat down, my first thought was, bitch, is that Juvius? He had the full set. Mascara, fucking lip balm, bronzer. He had everything short of blush. His brows were done.
Okay, so I think this is so funny, and not because I could care less about someone wearing makeup, but the irony just killed me. I saw this on my TikTok today, because obviously she made a very throwaway comment. She was like, "Oh, you look better in person," and she's like, "That's because his makeup was done, you know? He
Yeah.
was slaying, like everything was in place." And for me, I thought that was the funniest thing ever. I just wanted to see what your reaction to that was.
Look, I do think that is that's really funny actually. But yeah, man.
I mean, it's just a little ironic. I was like, I remember years ago hearing this guy, and probably to this day, but you know, I've been kind of swerving away because he's become actually increasingly irrelevant, right?
Yeah,
But hearing this man talk about how other men need to be and then how other women need to be, um, I was like, okay, but he's kind of a diva. He's
yeah.
kind of a diva though, you know. Obviously it's pretty common in the entertainment industry to wear
To
some
do
makeup,
makeup,
but
yeah.
still, I just think it's so funny the way that conservatives are like they're just theater kids at the end
I
of the
mean,
day, and I'm not the first to say that,
dude,
but
the crazy thing is most of them did go to a school for theater. Even you look at Donald Trump, he loves
yes,
Broadway. If you look at what he did for the military parade by having different like uniforms made
it
for
was so
every
good.
century of war type of thing, it's just insane to think that that's what their military parade was. And then you go and look at China's military parade, and they're like, look at all of our cool rockets and like,
It was
missiles and tanks.
custom. It was custom. I think that's so beautiful. Like these people just really enjoyed one of my favorite videos of Ben Shapiro. And you know what? In my opinion, truly one of the best is when he's reviewing Wicked. Now I love the Wicked movie, right? But he was giving so many criticisms, and he was like, Ariana Grande did not pull through. Essentially, that's what he was saying. He was like, she was not made for the role. Cynthia Erivo, though, was amazing, and it's just obviously, like in general for man, I don't care that you talk about this stuff, but I'm like, you're the one that thinks black people are less than, and that women only worthy if they are a wife, and all of that.
Yeah,
But then he's like, but Cynthia Erivo's vocals, though, and her acting skills were just, on top.
top class.
And yeah, and for me, it shows that everything's really just a performance.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that there are some conservatives that really, mean what they say,
Mm.
especially after, talking for so long. But I just see it as such a performance at that point. I'm like, you're doing theater right now, basically. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
that was one I really wanted to share with you on
it, it's
top.
it's quite funny, and also the other thing that I find absolutely humorous is like these guys will complain about students that go to university and do like liberal arts degrees and stuff like that, when in
Yeah.
fact most of them went to university to study some form of art. So Ben Shapiro got a BA at University of California.
Okay.
Let me just find out what it was in, cause if I remember correctly, it was something to do with theatre. So he's qualified to speak about Wicked.
Right.
So,
Yes.
um,
I do appreciate that. I wish, I feel that way about a lot of these kinds of conservative voices that just feel like they're in the wrong field. Like Ben Shapiro, he could have been doing this. That could have been his thing. Trump could have been a talk
well,
show
you,
host, and
you
that would
see,
have
the
been his
thing
thing.
is, they all tried those things and then failed, and that's why they ended up in right-wing commentary.
I mean, yeah, I actually forgot about that part. I forgot that. Like, that was the whole Steven Crowder thing, right? That
Yeah,
he was like very anti-trans and stuff, and anti-gay, but then would dress up in drag. And I think he played a gay character in like a student film, something like that. Like,
yeah.
I guess they've been to all of the avenues. They just want to be entertainers at the end of the day.
And I
But to be
suppose they
fair,
did end up
both of
there.
those people are kind of out of the picture now. Sorry?
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Because also, Ben Shapiro kind of fallen off pretty hard in the YouTube space, and
Yeah,
now pretty much Candace
it's
Owens has
true.
taken his spot.
Candace Owens, I mean, even do you think the Andrew Tate era has kind of come to an end? I don't
Yeah,
think so,
I think so. And
but well, him specifically, yeah.
yeah, I mean, his imprisonment and being under house arrest has definitely affected his influence over young men.
Right.
He's definitely not as much of a big play anymore. And also, I just generally
Yeah.
think like um, media kind of has shifted a bit, but also I'm not on the same side of media that most are in, so it would be difficult for me to say.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think you're right about that. I feel like the impact that he had is not exactly gone. I just think that they've moved on to different people. And
yeah,
also, I think a lot of younger people, um, that's true. What you said though about the algorithm, I think that we don't see what a lot of other people see. That can make it a little bit difficult to actually know what's truly going on if you're not in
mm,
the loop,
yeah,
for everyone. I wanted to say something though about Andrew Tate because obviously I'm chronically online, as they say, and I remember speaking about Andrew Tate so long ago, and it was funny because right before he blew up, I was taking a course on, it was like women's history, something like that,
yeah,
and so what we were talking about women's history and like issues with gender in general, like we'll talk about some other things too, not just specific to women, but obviously we just talk about anything. And I was like, guys, this is so weird. I saw a video yesterday about a guy that says instruct your woman to cook for you and drink sparkling water and all of that. It's like the sign of status and this hustle mentality. That's why you have to instruct a woman to cook because otherwise, how will you be on your Sigma grind set, right?
yeah,
And I remember people laughing and being like, haha, that's so funny. Except, okay, one guy that knew who he was. And it was just, that was before he even really came up. And I swear on my life, I think it was like 3 months later, people were bringing it up all the time. They're like, oh, yeah, Andrew Tate, Hustle University, and all of that. And I was like, what? I was like, I thought this was like an obscure video that I saw online, like just some random
yeah,
guy that was saying weird shit, you know? And then all of a sudden, I heard a bunch of people talk about him. I felt so ahead of the curve. I remember that being like, oh my God, I know things.
for
But
me,
obviously, it concerned me then. I just didn't realize that it
yeah,
would become so popular. Yeah.
for me, like, I had heard about a character named Andrew Tate, had no idea who he was. And then my brother the
Yeah.
one day came up to me and showed me this, like, look at how funny this dude is speaking about, drinking sparkling water and how
Yeah.
still water is for broke people. And I was laughing
Yeah.
because I was like, well, is this person making fun of this really like masculine dude that everybody's talking about? And then he goes,
Right.
no, this is the guy. So I honestly thought he was a caricature and like someone that was just making
Right.
fun of Andrew Tate at the time. But yeah, that's how I found out about who he was. And then since then, he kind
Right.
of ballooned in popularity.
Yeah. I mean, I still see people like trying to dress like him. I know 3 guys who shaved their heads. to look like him if that doesn't show some kind of impact. They won't admit
That's
it, but
crazy.
I knew they were fans, so even the outfit was the same. So I have
What's
a little suspicion.
what's even funnier about it is like Andrew Tate dresses like a metrosexual male at best.
Yes,
Like
yes,
everything is so tight. It's a very like, let's call it European way to dress. Uh, I just don't think
right.
it's like the current style, but it's just really funny to see
Which
how different it is.
one of my biggest criticisms of the European style is that I don't want to see your ankles. This is a very strong opinion I have when it comes to men, because they're also a little hairy, and I'm not judging, but I just wanted to. That's not relevant, but I wanted to bring that up. But I feel like the Andrew Tate era was so strange.
Mm.
Obviously, it didn't start with him. I just think that people were already sort of primed to like someone like him, looking for male role models to
Yeah,
feel good about themselves, to feel included. Like these became kind of communities. That's how people sort of found each other, because it's never your own insecurity. It has to be a woman's fault. So essentially, like, when you get so ingrained in this kind of culture of masculinity that I'm not even sure you like women anymore. Like, women are so out of the picture because the whole point is to be masculine to attract a woman. That's how they make it out to be. To the point where I'm like, I'm a little suspicious. I don't think you really like women. I just think you like being around men and getting validation from men. It's like that joke of like when you go to the gym
yeah,
to get girls, and then it's
but
only the guys that like respond to your story and are like, wow, gas, like
yeah,
I get with you, um and so it's so funny to just be like, oh, you love men so much you forgot to like women, actually.
it's
you
really funny
know
hearing how many of them are really like they kind of do have like a disdain for like things that women do and generic like women
yeah,
things, or like I don't even want to say traditionally like feminine things, but it's just really funny that they're so opposed to these things. But speaking about like, wanting to belong to communities and stuff like that, I
yeah.
think that often, especially over the last few years, like men and women have been diverging, even though we both struggle with the same core problems, but they manifest in different ways. Like there's a loneliness epidemic for everyone, not just like men and not just women. And it's a general deterioration. And I think like all of these people that kind of, drive these factors or these things to make people continuously split up, um, is just not good for us as a whole. And it's just sad to see
Completely
that
agree.
there's a lot of opposition coming from men's side and then from women as well, sometimes, not always. That, like we keep on, I think, othering each other. So it's like, the problem is never really like ours, but we should try as a community and as a society fix these problems, because at the end of the day, like it's going to plague the next generations if we don't sort it out now.
I mean, community, there is very little sense of community. Like, I think that these days the only form of community you really find is maybe in your family,
Yeah,
at school, and in your work, right? They have that concept of third spaces, of where the third spaces like parks and cultural events, and I don't know, maybe some kind of live performances, something like that. It's really kind of missing these days. And even if something gets put on, like on the rare occasion, people are sort of embarrassed. People
yeah,
don't really go to places by themselves that much anymore. They're
yeah,
super shy. And I even hear these complaints about dating. I mean, I'm not trying to give dating advice or something, but people always ask, like, but where do I meet people? If they're not at my job, where do I meet people? And for me, that's pretty concerning, actually.
mm,
Um, because just the state that we're in, like, we don't really find a lot of places to just go for the sake of community
yeah,
anymore. So yeah, you're right. People are very divided, and they do call it the male loneliness epidemic. I think a lot of guys these days, young men, like
Mm.
or young guys in general, find themselves more online with their guy friends than in
Yeah.
other places, if that's what they have access to. Girls kind of find comfort in each other, and they do complain about men. And where's the intersection? Like the advice that I usually gave people in general is like, where I actually met some friends, was to go volunteer. But
Yeah.
even the place I volunteered ended up being a scam. It ended up
That's crazy.
it ended up being they were like funding money into casinos. I was like, no, obviously people got food, but that's crazy. So I don't know where the safe spaces are. That's just a fun fact.
You volunteered at a steak run
Yeah, pretty
charity, I
much.
guess.
I went to go, help them make soup and chopping vegetables. Little did I know. Little did I know. I think they somewhat recovered to deal with it, but that was something. Anyway, but still I stand by that. If you go, find a place where you can meet people, especially if they want to do some good,
Yeah.
I would say just go volunteer. That's one of my suggestions. But at the end of the day, it's hard to overcome that first part, because even then, who wants to go by themselves? People don't feel very comfortable in that. So it's really difficult. It's really difficult, but it's not impossible.
Hmm.
I think all you really need is a hobby, to be honest. You need
Yeah,
like a
I think,
shared activity or something. Like I'm giving more of a practical sense. Like I
yeah.
understand, let's say spiritually, why people feel that way, but I feel like just with the most common simple things, there could be incremental change, but people feel to separate it from not just women or men or something, but from the world.
From each other, yeah.
I think, yeah,
Because I don't think there's even a lack of third spaces. I mean, there's like the parks
Mm.
didn't just disappear. Okay, in some circumstances they did, and
No,
they
I was
got
there
used for
yesterday.
building developments. But the parks are still there. There's a lot of bars and stuff that are still there, but I think
Yeah.
the way the internet and to some extent, I think COVID had a large part to play in this, shaped like,
The forbidden word. It's a
yeah,
forbidden word. You can't say that.
it
People
shaped
don't
like
want to talk about it. But please
uh
talk about it.
I think it shaped like a lot of how we interact with each other and certain
Yeah.
like social rules, because there was kind of a period in most countries where you didn't go out for like a solid year. It
Yeah.
was difficult to meet people in person. I mean, like mine and your relationship really does only exist because we met online. And then
Don't expose us.
we managed to
But it's
break the
true. We
barrier,
became
but
friends. We became friends because of Among Us, which is crazy, even though we're from the same
same
like
hometown.
hometown, let's say. Yeah.
Never even knew each other existed up until we played Among Us that day.
I'm just a
Um,
victim of the internet.
but yeah, it's like it's just weird. And then also because of the way the internet works, you can just fall into echo chambers so easy. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just crazy that these tech companies are also just perpetuating this. They're really not trying to fix anything. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to say you can't blame them because you definitely can, but there's nobody holding
Yeah.
them to that standard as well.
Right. I completely agree. I mean, the companies are one thing, but it's it all comes back down to government regulation, actually.
Mm,
Um, but then the government regulation these days comes down to the money from the companies,
yeah.
and like you said, absolutely no accountability. I mean, that's I think one of the most difficult parts, because actually it's not that difficult.
Mm,
It's really not that difficult. I know that people, get a little down on themselves. They're like, I have no control and all of that. But actually, the process would be simple if we just held our politicians more accountable and asked for more
yeah.
transparency. But we don't, because we feel that we're so powerless, right?
Yeah.
Even though without support from the people, there's no government. But anyway,
I mean, you can look at it, you can see it in voter turnout, I think in most countries. I know in South
yeah,
Africa, like we have had record low voter turnout since
yeah,
probably like early 2000s. And that's just because, like, no matter who you voted for, nothing really got changed. And it sucks
Yeah.
to be in that position and to try and get people to do things, but, people, if they feel powerless, they'll always kind of remain powerless. It's,
Yeah.
there's a name for it. It's learned helplessness, pretty much, where you keep on trying and trying, nothing changes, so you just learn, okay, look, I can't change it, so I'm going to stop caring and just stay out of it from now on.
Yeah, I mean, that's a shame, but it comes back down to what we said about the sense of community. Because obviously, as an individual, it is true. Unless you're someone with a bunch of money or a bunch of influence, yeah, there's not much you can do. The only way you can do it is collectively,
Yeah,
but you cannot do it collectively when we just spoke about how everyone is so separated from one another, right? That we're all
yeah,
kind of living in our own world, living according to our own algorithm. I don't even see what you see on the internet. My world on a daily basis, aside from, let's say meeting people at work or someone from my class, is just what I see online. My world is different to yours. And
yeah,
so, I might be thinking about, organizing one way, you might be thinking of another, for
mhm,
instance, or, our terms of solidarity. But we don't even really come together because I don't even know what's going on in your life, technically,
yeah,
what you're consuming. It is one of the biggest challenges. Again, I'm not saying it's impossible because some people, when we talk about this, they get a little sad,
mhm,
but it just means that we have to find other ways to
to
connect
motivate them, yeah,
and honestly to just talk about it out loud. I
yeah,
know a lot of people are uncomfortable with it, like we said in the beginning, they're a little overwhelmed. But, if you really want real change, the first thing you have to do is just speak,
mm.
speak, you
And I
know?
think a lot of why sometimes people don't want to get involved in politics is because there's shame associated with not being like educated in it per se. And like one of my friends a while back told me while he was very drunk that there's nothing wrong with being ignorant, but there's a problem with staying ignorant. So,
Oh,
like
that's such a good line.
yeah, it happened like 2 or 3 years ago. I still
Okay.
remember it as clear as day because it was just that impactful. But like
Yeah,
to admit that, okay, look, I know nothing, but I'm willing to learn, and to also create an environment where people feel comfortable saying that, I think is also
right.
important.
I think you're right, and not just. I think people kind of misconstrue what politics is in the first place because you don't you don't even need to know who the leader of your country is to know what you want from your country.
Yeah.
You know, like it's in your daily experience. I mean, the politics or let's say the government is supposed to essentially serve those needs of your daily experiences. There's a lot of traffic, and you're like, that's not political. It is political. you
Yeah.
know it is their responsibility to make sure that you can get to your work on time. They're the ones responsible of building the roads. You're like, oh, my job just sucks, I don't get paid enough for this. And that's another issue, that people are working very many hours these days
Yeah.
for very low
Getting
pay.
underpaid.
um, yeah. And you're like, well, that's not really political. Actually, the government has every
Yeah.
right to regulate your pay. I mean, what else? I'm just thinking in our daily lives, there's so much that we say like, well, I'm not educated in politics. It's not political. I'm not a
Mm.
political person. But I think it's misconstrued. It is political. It's all
Yeah.
political. If it affects your daily lives, but not just you as an individual, but as a whole, then there's someone that has the power to take responsibility for that. Because
Mm.
that's where you put your money. You're paying taxes.
Yeah.
That's where you're putting your money. You're like, I have this issue. I'm giving you my money. How about you fix the issue? And then you're like, oh, let's, I don't know, give it to a foreign government. Or let's, put it in our
Yeah.
pocket. Something
Let's
like
uh
that.
let's build a nice new home somewhere called Nkandla.
Yeah, right. Like,
So
if I said, oh, you and me, we're going to share an apartment. I'm going to pay half the rent. You're going to pay half the rent. And then you were like, okay, I have the money for the rent, but actually, I'm going to stick it in another apartment that I also have. I'm going to be
yeah.
like, get the fuck out. Get out. You don't live here. you know?
Yeah. And man, just yeah, seeing that the governments don't necessarily always care.
Oh, sorry.
We got the great anti-fascist Peppa Pig mug over there.
yeah.
Um, Like, I think there's been a very large surge against, especially government corruption across Asia at the moment. That's become really massive, where you have a group of Gen Zs pretty much overthrow the government of Nepal and elect a new leader on Discord,
On
um,
Discord is
which
crazy.
is
It's
really
crazy.
interesting, really cool, I think.
Yeah,
It shows that there's good out there to be done and that there's good people out
yeah,
there that are willing to lead and take a chance. And in most circumstances, if people weren't maybe as political in those countries, maybe these changes would have never come about. I mean, Nepal could have a very bright future ahead of them because of someone that decided to take charge and had the backing of fellow students and young people to assist them to do it.
you know, I think people do have that energy. They
Mm,
do, but they kind of put it in the wrong places. So we see like frustrations with the South African government, for instance,
yeah,
and then people make it about race or
yeah,
which
famous one. Always
no,
happens.
but it is, they're like, oh, I don't want to say too much, but I see some people getting real nostalgic for other times, which is super concerning, super
Yeah,
concerning. Um, and I feel like they put that energy towards things like that. Um, and just in the wrong places. It's either towards racism, it's xenophobia, it's blaming individuals for not really fixing their own lives in
yeah,
places where the government should take charge. So you see it in Nepal that they were like, oh, the government is the problem. Let's do something about it. That's not
yeah,
me, condoning. That's not us condoning violence or something like that. But let's be honest, these governments have been violent in their own ways towards their people. They
yeah,
recognize that, and they took charge. How
yeah.
long are we gonna let these governments be violent towards us?
I mean, I will say,
That's
like,
the
South
question.
Africa hasn't been too bad the last few years with violence. I think the last major one was the incident that happened at the mine the one year, but that was
Well,
absolutely disgusting
it's more
from our
about
government
indirect
side.
violence,
Yeah, but
like
I think,
unhoused people. That's another form of violence. If I don't have a house, I'm exposed to violence,
yeah,
for instance.
I
You
mean,
know.
most of South Africa's like crime rates is all linked to poor populations. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just sad to see that like a country with such a bright future is facing these problems.
Yeah.
And like this year we kind of have a good enough government with a government of national unity to not allow one party to kind of just run through everything and kind of push what they want to push through. So it feels more
Yeah.
so
That's
like a
a
true
huge
democracy.
deal.
Yeah, it's for the first time
That's
in my lifetime. Okay, I'm very young, but we haven't had a government that controls less than the majority before. So now you kind of have to have like the ANC
yeah.
has to kind of go to the DA, EFF, MK, and all of these other larger parties and say, okay, look, these
Yeah.
are the goals that we have. Can we walk towards them and get them done by these steps? And then those parties will actually have a say to be able to stop it or to pass it, depending on whether or not it aligns with their values. So we've seen some good turnouts from that, like the DA fought heavily to not let the new budget law pass, which saved South Africans 2% on VAT, which is essentially a tax on some of the people that are struggling the most in the country, not even those that are getting money or that like government employees who are earning hundreds of millions or millions per year, where VAT affects everybody instead of just increasing the highest tax bracket or increasing tax on government workers, I think would be a decent one.
Right. And I mean, South Africa is one of the most unequal societies in the world in terms of incomes and
Yeah,
wealth. So it does make a huge difference. I mean, we talk about corruption and all of that, but I mean, I truly believe that one of the biggest influences of that is the fact that foreign companies kind of make their home within South Africa. Why?
yeah,
Because it's cheap for them, you know. And I feel like we also need to start paying more attention to that than simply just the governments. It is, at the end of the day, in their hands, but I think that there is some other influences.
I will say
You
our
know,
government doesn't necessarily make it easy for them to settle in South Africa. We've actually had quite a bit of foreign divestment from South Africa because of our laws surrounding BEE, which is Black Economic Empowerment.
yeah,
So if you want to
that's
have a
true.
company in South Africa, 30% of it has to be owned by a non-white or previously disadvantaged partner, which really, like, I think tries to incorporate people, but because of mismanagement and stuff like that, BE is a system
Yeah,
with good intentions, but has been poorly managed throughout. So it just sucks to see something that
yeah.
could really be used to uplift the whole country being used for corruption and to create trendpreneurs that kind of have wealth unlike anybody else in the country, basically.
It's abnormal.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I change the subject a little bit?
Yeah,
I
sure.
have another video to show you.
Okay, let's go.
Okay, so I thought that we should react to this. I really want to know what you think. Now, just give me 1 second. Either way, there's an ad playing, unfortunately.
That's okay.
Okay, can you see?
I will let you know when I
secure
can.
in their own
Okay, I
bodies.
can see it.
You can see?
Yes.
Okay, great. Now watch this.
Uproar in Albania's parliament. Opposition politicians block the lectern, hurl papers and hurl their disapproval, insulted that an artificial intelligence should be appointed to the cabinet. Prime Minister Edi Rama defended his decision.
Introducing artificial intelligence in the service of good governance, anti-corruption, and accelerated socio...
Are you catching what's happening here?
So they introduced their new AI member of parliament, I assume.
Minister.
That's
This
crazy.
is their new minister in Albania.
Economic progress will be an unwavering priority for all the country's ministries and agencies.
Okay. This is just something that's great. I want to show you that it got a little bit of backlash, right? So here is the response from the AI
Disa
minister.
më kanë quajtur antikushtetuese nga që nuk jam njeri. Kjo më ka lënduar. Jo për vete, po për 972.000 ndër veprimet me qytetarët që u kam shërbyer në Albania dhe 30.
I just wanted to see what your initial reaction to that
Albania.
is. Oh, yeah, Albania. So you probably don't know too much about Albania.
I do not.
Yeah, so essentially one of their main goals right now is to become a member of the European Union.
Okay.
And this is one of their strategies to essentially enter the European Union. They're like, well, listen, the thing is, Albania has dealt with a lot of corruption over the years. Like, there's a bunch of reasons for it. Their country was closed off for roughly 100 years under, their kind of dictatorship. So they were, until about the 90s. I think in the 90s it opened up. Obviously, I'm not an expert. But so, they've needed some time to catch up with the global state of things. And and eventually they want to join the European Union. So they thought, who is not corrupt? An AI minister. An AI minister would not be corrupt. And this is their strategy. It's dealing with procurement and things like this. But yeah, I just wanted to see what your first reaction to that is.
Okay, so I'm currently at university for computer science, so understanding that this AI is probably built on a large language model, there's some important things that we need to take into consideration. That although we say AI is impartial,
Unbiased,
unbiased, that's simply not the case, because unfortunately, when it comes to interpersonal stuff or information that's on the internet, it is not unbiased. So these models have been trained on.
It's also
clearly.
Hilarious. It's also just so funny. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So it's concerning that they didn't look into the fact that these models may be biased, which is a downside to them. And from a computer science aspect, most data is biased. So I think in the next few years, most training data for certain things actually needs to be artificially created so that you can train models that are unbiased. Because if you look at like how data collection has been affected over many years, there's data on groups of people that didn't have the same rights as they do now.
Right.
So to use that data is extremely concerning when it comes to a minister that's doing procurement and stuff like that. But maybe it's better, at least this way it can't be bribed as easily, I guess.
I
'Cause
mean,
what's it gonna use the money for?
it's gonna give it some cookies, right?
Yeah.
Get it?
But
Did you get my joke?
yes, I did get it. I understand what
Okay,
a
can you
cookie is.
explain it? Because actually, I don't even really know what cookies are.
Okay, so a cookie is just like a really. Was that another joke, or do you want the answer?
You know what? We can move on. Forget about it. I hate myself for saying that. I just couldn't think of anything better, but I felt like anyway. So yeah, I just wanted to share that there's so much going on in the world. Of course, we wanted to talk about censorship and stuff, but
Yeah.
now we don't have to worry anymore because we have things like AI ministers that
Ministers.
are gonna keep us safe and keep us from corruption. So, I mean, do you think we could replace Trump with AI? Would that be successful? But give the AI a Trump personality. Do you think we'd have similar or different results?
I think, to be honest, there's enough tweets that he's made that we'd probably get the same exact results.
Okay.
There's a large data set to train the model on, and he hasn't been shied away from cameras, so yeah.
Okay, well, there we go. There we go.
Unfortunately, Trump is staying the
Technology.
same, I guess. But
Well,
speaking of
that
Trump,
just sounds like a robophobia to me, but anyway.
what can I say? I don't wait, I'm not gonna
Wait,
say the C word because I may
before
get
you
banned in the future.
before you get into Trump, I was talking to somebody about this. Is that some of the robophobia videos, I mean, I don't know,
Oh, dude.
you've seen them, right?
Yes, yes.
Some of them are hilarious, right? And some of
Yeah.
them are a little too real. Some of them are like, oh, I feel like you've practiced being
Dude,
racist,
some of them I
and now
was
you're just
watching.
so happy to say it in terms of robots.
So, like, I was watching
The C
specifically
word.
a video done by
Sorry.
Jarvis Johnson and Jordan Adika,
Yeah.
where they were reacting to someone that was making these videos, and like
Right.
they were calling the clankers wirebacks, and like,
Why?
so
Okay.
like the joke is that a lot of people call Mexicans in America like a certain other term that is something back because they
Oh,
generally
it's
do hard
similar.
labor. Um,
Okay, I didn't know that.
and then
I'm
they're
sorry that you're so
also,
versed in racism.
yeah, and then they also
I'm
are
kidding.
playing on like
Sorry, I'm kidding.
police brutality and stuff like that, where you're not
God.
making jokes about per se robots. You're just making jokes
Yeah.
about these other racial issues and then just wrapping it in like, haha, it's about robots this time, so it's
It
funny,
really
right?
feels like an excuse. It really feels like an excuse. Little concerning. Also, a lot of people jumped on it really quickly. They're like, I have a script ready for this. It felt like something that they had thought of before, and they just erased some of the words that they were going to use with words about
Yeah.
robots. So I
They
just
they
wanted to
gave
bring that
it
up
they gave it
because,
to ChatGPT and it's like swap out these words for these words. There you go.
you know what, in the like, I'm making jokes like this, or like, discussing it in a funny way. These days, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's
But yeah, you wanted to say something about Trump. I already
oh,
know.
dude, so okay. I'm super into the tech space in the stuff because of what I study and it just being a general interest. But in America, they have a specific visa called H-1B, and since the beginning
Mm.
of Trump's term, he's kind of been after this. And I know I'm not a fan of Elon, and I'm not a fan of the
A
other
fellow South
Indian dude
African?
that's in pharma. But they were staunchly trying to defend the H-1B because it brings a lot of immigrant labor
Yeah.
and a lot of good immigrant labor into America that actually helps build good
Right.
platforms.
I
And
mean, they're
Trump,
willing to invest hundreds of thousands at a time just to
yeah,
have, experts on certain things that just don't exist in the US.
yeah. So now the problem is, right, Trump's imposed a $100,000 fee on every single H-1B person for them to get their visa per year.
Yeah.
So 17% of the total tech workforce in America is H-1B labor. So these massive
17?
companies, 17%, yeah.
Yeah.
So these massive companies now are going to either have to fork out billions to pay for this labor,
Yeah.
or what I think is going to happen is they're going to divest from investing in software development in America and start outsourcing to countries
Yeah.
that have similar abilities to do it, but they are just so much cheaper. I mean, if you look at the quality of software developers that come out of areas like India, which I think makes up about 60 to 70%
Yeah.
of H-1B laborers in tech in America, um,
Yeah.
they compete on a global stage at this point. South Africans not as much on the global stage, but we are still up there at the moment.
Not yet.
And
Not yet.
yeah, Chinese people too. They are massive. If you look
Oh,
at the
of course.
largest competitors for American tech companies at the moment, they are all coming out of China. So if these companies stop
Yeah.
investing in America, it's going to be a very different tech space.
I don't understand. I mean, I don't know why I'm asking for the logic of Trump, but I don't really understand what this brings. Like, I know that they're on, a puritanical, white American streak, but even just from the financial sense, these companies are not bound to
Yeah,
America. I'm sure that they would prefer being there, but that's something that I never really understood because obviously Trump is so pro-capitalist. He's a capitalist himself,
yeah.
and
But
yet
when it comes
he's trying to
to
push them away.
buying shares in companies or taking shares for the government, let's go social corporatism, referring to the 10% stake in Intel. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because of course it wouldn't be so bad to focus on your own people, right? Like theoretically, educate. Here's the thing, and this goes also to the tariffs. Both of these things are not actually bad concepts.
yes,
Focusing on your own personal imports or
yeah,
your own personal labor, but these policies are being carried out
in such a
without
poor manner.
the other stuff. You're not doing the education for the
Yeah,
kind of
you're
people
not
in this
making
specialized
universities
professions.
cheaper for most people to get educated.
No, and you don't have manufacturing systems set up in the US to
Yeah,
accompany basically the products that you're charging more for that are coming from other countries. So it's like technically these are not bad things, but the way that they're being carried out are just no solution. It's the
yeah,
most chaotic thing. And of course, we could talk for hours about how Trump has socially fucked the United States in one way or
yeah,
another. Of course, not on his own, with support of many people. But just from that sense of things, it doesn't make any sense. And my question is there someone whispering in his ear? Or do you think he just comes up with it on the spot? Because remember with the whole talking about South Africa and the white genocide stuff
yeah.
is because he had Elon in his ear. So I do sometimes wonder what are these influences, because I'm of the opinion that he doesn't come up with anything himself, to be honest. Or if he does, it's just because it's based on his own feelings.
Yeah, like I genuinely don't know. I don't know because I somehow think there can't be people around him that are that dumb as well to just be like slap tariffs on everybody and
Yeah.
then, manufacturing will magically come back to America. Like I
Yeah.
don't understand how anyone on that cabinet can sit there and think, okay, that's a good idea, unless they're a bunch of yes men. And Trump is just like, tariffs are good for America because we had tariffs when America was founded, and income tax didn't exist, but the government was non-existent either.
Well, I think in terms of a lot of the tariffs, it was just like a way to get revenge on other places, any country he didn't like. I mean, that's pretty much how he reacts. Even with Israel, people have already forgotten when Trump was criticizing Netanyahu at some point because he was
Yeah,
mad at him because Netanyahu was not very nice to him actually, and he
exactly.
just doesn't listen. So it's like an emotional flip flopping, as they say.
Yeah.
It's just so confusing to me. I've heard the term Trumpism now. I wonder what you think of that
Wait,
Trumpism. A way of it must be like a specific way of new way of politics because I don't know how to describe anything that he does because he's even got the people on the right pissed off
yeah.
in one way or another. So this
He's
is
almost
the Trumpism era.
he's almost like he can piss off everybody except for the people that vote for him. Because like something that I was surprised by was Ted Cruz's
Oh,
reaction to the recent taking Jimmy Kimmel off air and censorship towards democratic people or people that are critical of Israel and
yeah,
America. And Ted Cruz said, you fine with these rules now, but when it's used to silence every single Republican, you'll have a problem. And I think that's true. Although, I'm not a fan of Ted Cruz, but it's true.
rips into Ted Cruz rips into Jimmy Kimmel threat as unbelievably wait, I don't know, unbelievably dangerous.
Yeah. So I think somehow Ted Cruz, who is the most, I don't even want to say diehard Trumper, but I've never heard him say anything against Trump, being able to say this now is quite a crazy stand. And I hope that, other Republican leaders do something along with Democratic leaders. I know Bernie Sanders has spoken out about this and says it is
Yeah,
definitely wrong, but it genuinely is concerning to see this happening in a country that says, the First Amendment, which is the right to free speech, is
yeah,
actively censoring people for their political views. It's becoming
yeah.
like uh, that George Orwell novel. Uh, Scary to see things like happening like this, which is
Yeah.
just alarming.
It's scary, but you know what else is scary?
Yeah.
Performative males.
Okay,
Roshan.
now we're getting to pop culture. This is my
Yeah.
wheelhouse. Look, if we want to talk pop culture, I can do that. I'm also a fan
Oh,
of
you're
that.
hip
I
and
love it.
with the youth, huh? You're hip and with the youth. If we
I
want to talk
am.
about pop culture, then we
I
can. So my cat is here.
oh,
Misa,
let's say hi.
look, Misa.
Oh, it's so cute.
Misa also talks politics with me, and she's
Hello.
not okay with what's happening. Isn't that
I
right?
I
Um,
concur. I concur.
do you want to? Okay, so obviously this topic might be a little stale for some people, but I wanted to talk about the evolution of it a little bit
Yes.
because what is a performative male to you, Roshan? I want to hear.
Okay. So, you know, all throughout history, I think being performative as a man, has always been a thing. Since the
All
days
throughout
of
history.
cavemen, being able to show that you can, let's say, hunt and do
Yeah.
other things has always been a thing that people did. So,
Yeah,
you know,
okay. Look at me, I'm hunting.
exactly, look at me, I'm hunting, or look, I can do this thing, I can pick up the heaviest boulder, or whatever the fuck. Ironically, that one still exists, except it's just in a gym, and instead of trying to impress women, you're trying to impress men. But, you know,
Great.
that's probably the next state of performative male that we're heading into. But
I'm sure.
the last generation of performative male, I think, was quite a funny one where it was, the Andrew Tate type guys, where it was like, I've got money, I've got a Bugatti, I've got the cool watches that everybody wants.
I've got my mom making me lunch, got her driving
Exactly.
me to school. Mom, don't come into my room. I'm watching Andrew Tate right now. But
Yeah. So, you had all of those people that were trying to perform to be like, macho man. And then, like, guys kind of realized that they aren't getting girls by doing that. So there
yes.
were a few guys that tuned in to like what women were interested in, what literature they're reading, you know, um, what,
Appropriating women culture.
yeah, appropriating women culture for the gaze of women now instead, because a lot
Yeah.
of what men were doing performative before was for the gaze of men, ironically.
Yes. Well, that's just accurate.
Yeah. So now you have all of these guys, listening to Clairo, Beabadoobie, Lalve.
Well, do you
Um,
think they were actually listening? Because you're right, being a performative male is just pretending to be interested in women's interests,
yeah.
right? Um, but I will say one thing: if it gets people listening to like Leve and Claro, I'm cool with that. But
Look,
I'm concerned if they don't.
that's totally valid. Because, look, I'm not the biggest Clairo fan, but some of her music is just so good. Like,
Oh, you're a real
Bags,
one, Roshan.
banger. What?
I always said I feel like you're the performative male if it wasn't performative. You know
Ironically,
what I
like,
mean? In the way that you dress and all of that, I feel like it's so on
okay,
point. Like they wish.
granted, I will say I only started dressing better like this year because before I was a chronic shorts
Everyone's
wearer
on their
and
own journey.
apparently that's not cool. So I stopped
You
doing
can
that.
wear shorts. It just depends on the type of shorts.
Yeah, and like what the shirts you
These are
wear them
great.
with, it's like heavily dependent on how you styling yourself. But I was just bad at a lot of it back like at the beginning of this year, and I'm slowly starting to get better thanks to some friends at university.
Are
Um,
they are the friends women?
yes, yes, they are all women. They're all decently dressed themselves,
Yes.
so they
Yes.
have been helping a lot. Um,
That's good.
you know, so these men transition from being like the Andrew Tate type dudes to, listening to Claro, drinking matcha. I still haven't tried that though. I would like to try, but
Tastes
it's
like
just
grass. Some people might be mad at that. Tastes like grass. But here's the thing. It didn't blow up because of being performative.
yeah,
It blew up because people were making fun
that is
of being a
true.
performative male. They were performing as the performative male, which it gets a little bit too meta after
Yeah.
that.
So it's
I
like
even saw people criticizing it. Yeah.
I think the funniest thing is the fact that most performative men are actually dressing like performative men to attend performative men contests, which
Yeah,
is just
that's a
funny
real
in
thing.
general.
That's a real thing that has happened. I heard about that happening in the US from a friend that I know, which I thought was funny. But yeah, I mean, it became so performative that again, it became a little. It just turned all the way around.
Yeah.
And then saying this, so basically, he was like, oh, these people pretending to be performative men, like they're also just as performative. And the ironic thing was, people were commenting like, oh, so what? You're not like other men now, and it just was like an ongoing cycle.
Yeah.
I had
So
some other videos, but they don't feel so relevant now. So maybe
okay.
I'll save them, or something else will happen soon. So trust,
Yeah.
there's enough news going around, but it's good
I
to
think
start a little
if
easier.
as long as Donald Trump is in the White House, there will always be news going around. So
You know what? I don't like, anything that's coming out of there, but I will say one thing that has remained true is that life is a bit more crazy, dangerous, but also entertaining. Biden era was a little boring.
yeah,
That's not me condoning anything that happens there. I would prefer a little boring over dangerous, but if we're gonna have to deal with it,
at least it's entertaining, I guess. Well, I guess I'll just say thanks for tuning in, guys. It was really nice to have this chat. Hopefully, you guys enjoy it. And yeah,
yeah, stick around. Imagine that at one point you're like, oh, I was like one of the early watchers before you guys blew up. So I think this is your chance now to say I was there from the beginning. That's one of the best ways to be annoying, and so please join in on being a little bit annoying in that way. We'd really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun. It was fun and sad and fun and interesting, and also devastating, but also cool. So that's my comment on that. So
Bye bye. Thanks for joining.
bye.